Hi, I'm Erica.
Brett, good
Nice to meet you.
There's a question, Dale, about online RPGing. Have you ever done a remote RPG session? And how's it work? Have you either as a DM or as a player?
We tried it once.
Yes, we did.
Years ago.
Many years ago.
Before there were adequate tools to do it.
And I think the main problem we had is from my modem, we had a player and the DM, and we kept having collisions.
Yeah, we had bandwidth issues because it was there was no like central service we could use that handled all the bandwidth. Whoever the host was serving out the traffic to everybody else, and the internet that was available at the time did not have a very fast upload speed. So I think I was hosting the maps and just doing the things that you described because I had the fastest upload speed of everybody. It was not that great, but I'm assuming there are much better tools out now.
One of the cool things I remember about that game, and what I liked best that online could do that real world can't, is you helped me convert the actual maps, but then I placed monsters, and then it would give you guys visibility.
The fog of war thing.
Yes,
yeah.
And I remember, you guys had lights so you could see however many feet ahead of you, and I knew where the monsters were, but you couldn't see what everyone else could see.
Couldn't see
only
around
your
corners.
things.
Yeah.
But we had, headsets.
Yeah.
So someone was walking into a room and looking around and was totally casual, but I had you in initiative for some reason.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh no!
Everybody just stepped out from behind pillars.
And none of the rest of you could see it.
Yeah.
So it was just like one of you shouting about what was in the room, which is a thing that is not an experience you get at tabletop.
Mm-hmm. So that is actually cool, yeah, being able to have all the sight lines and everything automatically.
And you actually being in the space in your mind, because you've got somebody off randomly shouting that there's something going on. You're like, whoa, I can
Right,
see
right,
anything.
yeah.
Everything
Someone
looks
you
fine.
can't see. Yeah.
It's sort of almost halfway to like a video game in some ways, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
Yeah. I like that aspect of it as well. It was really good.
Yeah.
I actually run a game online right now with this guy.
Oh yeah.
Brett is one of my D&D players in a game that I run online with a bunch of other people from the chat. And we don't use maps, like we just use a Discord video call because I don't have time to put together a bunch of maps.
It's very time intensive.
It is, and it's great. I really enjoy it. I can my favorite part is I can just drop links. Brett's character is a wild magic sorcerer, and one of the things that has actually come up 3 times is he hears creepy ethereal music for 1 minute.
Yeah, it's great.
So what I do is I have a list of songs, and I just drop the YouTube link into the chat, and he listens to that for the rest of the combat encounter, and only he can hear it.
Nice. So it's like, yeah, you can because of course the part of the thing with D&D stuff is that sort of there's that kind of information exchange, and sometimes you can do things where it's okay, one person leaves the room while the other people do a thing, but that's kind of annoying to do. So being able to have different people in the party have different chunks of information is very cool. I like that.
I'm working up a paranoia game for next summer, and I'm hoping that we can just have civilized use of phones at the table where people aren't just doing phone things, but we still have, texting is a great method of secret message.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
If you're looking for online tools, just random stuff that's not custom written, I have a good friend that works at Roll20. They have a lot of really good tools. You can just search for Roll20 online.
Yeah.
Cam demonstrating the efficacy of those pens, as well as his nice penmanship.
Damn.
I need to have a talk with my.
I haven't seen you actually write something before.
Oh.
That was real
It
good.
did not let me know it all.
Sarah, enhance. Enhance. I'm wondering D12.
Pan left.
Cameron, if it's possible, can you move your book to your right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just a little
There
bit.
you go.
There we go.
There.
Ooh, nailed it.
And James has apparently accepted a challenge for Cam and I to give DM advice for whenever he's finished writing.
Oh, cool. Give.
How's it feel, Cam?
Buttery. It's very smooth.
What about the mouthfeel?
This isn't the licking bit.
Succulent. High praise, succulent mouthfeel.
Yeah, the licking desert bus was also the desert bus where everyone got sick. So
That's very true.
those things are probably unrelated. Oh yeah, the weight.
Fine weight.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Nice balance.
Nice nails, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They match the pen.
That's well balanced pen. Not bad.
Here's a question for Bij, saying, what did you have the hardest time adjusting to when you got back from Japan?
What or when?
What was? Saying this person is saying, I'm struggling to reorient my concept of laundry day to the behemoth machines here in the U.S.
Oh, I see. The thing I had the hardest time with was having to actually use toilet paper to wipe my own butt. Because everywhere I went, there was a machine that squirted water at it. Everywhere I went, Paul, it was glorious, decadent, in fact. I would say that it's the kind of thing that I think everyone should experience at least once, if not every time they come into work.
Beach was advocating for it for
A washlet?
a washlet for the moon base.
Someday.
I've had friends who went to Japan this year, and one of them is just like, oh God, I know what I need to do with my house now. I need one.
Yeah, even just having like a Japanese-style bath is just really like a deep soaker tub and stuff. I enjoyed having that available, even like business hotels, just a nice big bath. But I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was being able to walk around and be like, should we get on a train? Why, of course we should. We know where we're supposed to go, so let's just go walk to get on a train and go from point A to point B and then get off the train. And having trains to ride is so fun, but also having a Japan Rail Pass is so convenient to just be able to be like, I want to ride the Shinkansen today, so I'm going to just walk to the ticket office, get a ticket, and then now we're on a high-speed train at 300 kilometers an hour whisking us across to Kyoto. It's like, that's lovely. I would love to have more options like that for travel. I would use it all the time, I think. Except that if you live in Japan, you're not allowed to have a JR pass. You have to buy, you have to buy all your tickets as opposed to just buying one ticket once.
I know. Obviously, transit stuff is different. Like I remember when I was just on vacation in Toronto and being amazed by the idea of like you don't necessarily really need to know the schedules for like buses or where they go because you just get on the street that you want to be on, and the bus just goes straight up the street back and forth. And so you just want to go farther down the street. You don't have to know like the weird convoluted path that this particular bus is going to take. It's not going to like randomly turn left on you when you are like, wait, no, I didn't want to go to that. So there are different ways of doing transit and around different places. There are some more Cam and Dale DMing questions.
Do those.
Happy to answer.
There's how would you run Vecna as a big bad evil guy in a campaign?
Vecna's the the goddess of magic and death, right?
Right, God, I think.
God?
Yeah, I think
okay. In Greyhawk, or
Right,
yeah.
yes.
I'm actually not terribly familiar with their character. They're chaotic evil, right? Or
Paul,
lawful
give us a
evil.
refresher if you would, please.
I think they're a god in Greyhawk, but I think in other ones they're just a lich.
Well, I think
Okay.
they started in Greyhawk,
Yeah.
and then
I want to say it was one of the developers' characters
Oh.
that grew into a god.
Could be.
Yeah, originally from the World of Greyhawk campaign setting, Vecna is an incredibly powerful wizard who became a lich, was eventually destroyed, and his left hand and left eye are the only parts left to survive. Even after he achieved, even after that, he achieved godhood, being a member of the 3rd edition default pantheon. He is described as missing both his left hand and left eye.
Right.
Vecna's holy symbol is the eye in the palm of a hand. Usually depicted as a powerful magician resembling a desiccated corpse. The constant theme in the adventures in which he appears is his never-ending quest for power, which, if he should succeed, would be him being the only deity in existence.
So probably the PCs are not worthy adversaries for him, so he's going to see them as tools.
Right.
So I think I would play him as generous.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because the PCs are not threats.
Right.
They're a tool to use to knock off other gods, really.
And he doesn't care if they survive. He wants them to chip away for his war of attrition,
Right.
for his ultimate goals.
So
He's a potential patron who has all sorts of fun things that he's offering you.
Yeah, what tools do you need for your job, really? Task-oriented,
Yeah.
I would characterize him as.
Yeah, what alignment are you? Great. I have some enemies of the opposite alignment. Let me help you defeat them.
Yeah. The Xanatos Gambit. His plans go like 3 or 4 layers deep, and he has enemies all around, really. So, what do you feel like fighting?
Yeah.
Who are you well adapted to? Again, okay, good. I definitely have people that need knocking off.
Right.
And whatever you do is probably fine, right? It's like
As
you
long as
make
you're killing his
corpses.
enemies, yeah.
You making corpses? Good.
I'll
Good.
pay you for those.
Yeah.
I actually played in a campaign where the DM introduced Vecna surprisingly on us. We were in a world that had basically been set up and designed so that these systems were put in place to keep like old gods from returning,
Right.
and those systems were failing. So it behooved to us, the player characters, to try and stop this from happening. We at one point were getting into a fight with like a Draco Lich we had to appease. We ended up peeving him off and had to escape, and we ran into, as we were coming out, there was this ship being manned by one pirate captain, and we ended up using him to help escape. But the weird thing we had is someone initially tried to attack the captain to commandeer the boat, and rolled high and just completely whiffed. And we were like, that's weird. So we start going on the voyage with this captain, and it starts becoming very clear that we have no idea how long we've been on this boat. We've been there for days and weeks, and we're starving and hungry. And all of a sudden we clue in that this pirate captain has an eye patch and a hook for a hand. And just somebody finally rolled the insight check to see through the illusion. We're like, he's just... I think it was that kind of motivation. He's like, I want whatever's going to happen because whoever dies is good for me. So,
I mean, I would think Vecna, having the knowledge domain, will be kind of clued into the functioning of the universe, which is to say that player characters go around pushing monsters over and getting powerful until they become useful monsters in themselves as kind of like a walking XP battery, right? Like,
Because if they're
it's like
he's going to get nothing for killing them.
Yeah, but when you're up around CR20, then then you're a useful snack,
Good point.
right? So if you get more powerful, that's good. That's handy. That's the end goal, right? Then you're not a worthy challenge, but a useful thing, right?
yeah, the only way we got out of that one is we happened to have like a giant golem helper robot, basically. And we basically ordered him, grab Vecna, jump off the boat. So it was like, well, he's gone for now. We unfortunately never finished that campaign, so don't know if he would ever ended up having come back, but probably.
Neat.
There's always that aspect of like old campaigns where that you never finish. Where you're like, those poor characters are just stuck in whatever situation you left them in.
Yeah, frozen in time.
They can never move on.
But yeah, inhumanly patient, right? Like I played a D&D game once where my character was a paladin of the Silver Flame in Eberron, and at one point, monster threw a fireball at me, and I was like, fire can't kill me. And later on, a Rakshasa was fighting me and doing the fire thing, and I repeated the line, and the DM, who had been constructed a moment for me to repeat that line, had the Rakshasa say, "No, but time will," and vanished. Right? Because I'm human. Right? I'm going to be around for 40-ish years, but after that, not a problem anymore, really. And so, like, Vecna can just have, like, the 1,000-year plan.
That's how I play dragons too.
Yeah.
Congrats on your 20,000 shift total.
Yeah.
Hey, wow.
And 260,000 total for the whole thing.
I think that actually means that you have to drive now, Paul.
I think we might be hitting, because we just hit the next hour.
Yeah.
So I believe we just hit the beginning of mine and Kate's shift.
There we go.
Whew. Darn it. Thought I was going to get out of doing it this year, but no.
You said challenges for Cam and Dale.
Have you ever tried the Gamma World rule set?
That was my very first. When I was that first DM, because no one else had ever DM'd, we were playing Gamma World.
Huh.
Nice.
I've never been to Gamma World. I think I had friends who mentioned Gamma World. Were there like beastmen
Yes.
in Gamma World? Grus or not Grus? G word of some kind. Right?
There were lots of them, and
Right.
and GMs were encouraged to make more. Like
Yeah,
any
they
kind of
were
animal
kind of
could
like
be-
endlessly protean, right?
yes.
Right.
So any animal could have been mutated. It was post-apocalyptic. There were all sorts of ruins from super high tech from long ago.
Right.
This was first edition Gamma World. I've played a couple different editions, and they became less high tech before the fall as we advanced through editions. It was fun. We were, in junior high school. We ended up doing a crossover with D&D, so there was actually a hand of Vecna, one of the DMs, introduced into Gamma World through the portal. But there were rules in, I think it was the first edition AD&D GM's guide on how to run Gamma World and D&D as a crossover.
Oh, really?
So of course we
Okay.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple people mentioned there's a long-standing, I guess it's a famous campaign involving the head of Vecna.
Yes.
I love the head of Vecna story.
Yeah,
The
it's a great
idea
story.
being that in order to use the eye of Vecna, you have to take out your eye and replace it with the eye of Vecna.
Right.
In order to use the hand of Vecna, you have to cut off your hand and replace it with the hand of Vecna. And so apparently a bunch of adventurers went after the head of Vecna and then fought amongst themselves for who would have the privilege of cutting off their head so that they could
Right.
replace it with the head of
Well,
Vecna.
yeah, it's like you're not replacing your head with Vecna's head. You're giving Vecna a prosthetic body.
If I remember the context of that story, it was a campaign that had two opposing parties.
Oh.
And one party set up this whole dungeon and myth about a head of Vecna in order to just basically take out the other role.
Right.
My favorite detail of that story is at the very end, they point out nobody ever noticed that the head of Vecna had two eyes.
Right.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good.
So let's ask you about the City of Mist role-playing game. Is anybody familiar with that?
I'm not familiar.
Why?
No.
No, MIST. So
Sorry.
not the not based on the computer game, I guess.
Okay.
Sorry, we do not know of that one. What else we got here?
Did we ever show you how that crap shot turned out you lent the books to us for?
I mean, I saw it.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah. Yeah, Lent.
Yeah.
I don't want those back.
Yes, thank you. They're on extended loan. Permanent extended loan.
I think we can say gift.
Yeah, they're a gift now.
For Dale or Cam or any of the DMs, do you have any opinions about running evil campaigns?
They're very, very tricky to balance. I've been in a few Innomine games where we were playing demons, and demon packs are tough because, like, the angel campaign in Anomaly, if you're all servitors of different archangels, sometimes you might have conflicting goals, but you feel compelled to find the compatibilities. Demons have to are encouraged by the demon princes to really get each other, right?
Yeah. If you're playing a demon in one of my in-nominee games, you're probably a renegade or else a free Lilum.
Yeah. One of our demon campaigns went off the rails when I think he was... what are the fallen Mercurians?
Impudites.
Impudites. An impudite of dark humor kicked a random guy down a flight of stairs and rolled 111 on his melee roll.
Okay.
Which in Anomaly is a divine intervention. If you roll 666, that's a demonic intervention. If you roll 111, it's a divine intervention. 666 is bad for angels, 111 is bad for demons. So I think you also had to roll low, right? So this was like a catastrophically good success on this melee attack roll. And this guy goes tumbling down the stairs and is yelling, "Ah! Ow, my leg!" Right? And I remember that because the DM was figuring it out, and you could see the brainwave hit him. And when angels or demons interact with the world in a notable way, it disrupts the order of the symphony. So injuring a human is a really good way to attract attention because everyone else can notice it, right? And that, went downhill from there. And that was just a random thing that this guy decided was in character for his character to do, right?
Yeah, I think in general with evil games, you need to have a really great conversation, players and game master, before you ever start. It's like, how evil are we being? Are we all on board? What's our safe word?
Right.
And do one and respect it.
Yeah.
And
boundaries on behavior,
right.
And what is acceptable evil at the table. I think it would be interesting, Shadowrun. By certain interpretations, Shadowrunners are doing some kind of evil stuff, like you're killing not random people, but...
Well, a lot of the time you're sort of acting outside the law or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're thieves, right? But you're acting for powerful patrons, and I think in D&D, that might be a good, hook on things, where, we discussed Vecna earlier, right? If you're working for Vecna, you're probably not working in the best interest of your world, right? And that might be an interesting hook into an evil game, where, it's clearly beneficial for you what you're doing, and at this resolution, you're not really seeing the evil consequences of the things that you're fighting, right? Maybe you're a good aligned party that's fighting evil aligned creatures, but for evil ends, right? And that can become apparent to you.
And there are different kinds of evil. Like if you're doing certain evil things, that doesn't mean you're going to do all of the evil things. It means there's this one place where you're committing crime, but that doesn't mean you're going to do all the crimes. It means, you are a hacker who delights in information theft or whatever.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you're a murderer. And Paul was in a game where they were pirates. Okay, well, if you're a pirate, you're doing crime. So let's just not use alignment in this game and see how it goes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting one because it sort of worked out where we were pirates, but in the context of the game, we were all hobgoblins that have a very which in D&D sort of have a very regimented militaristic culture, and also for weird D&D reasons are inherently evil.
Right.
Because things can be inherently evil and good in the D&D world, right? So it's they worship God evil gods and stuff. And so we had this our characters were supposed to be sort of failed recruits.
Okay.
We had basically scrubbed out of our what's called the year of hell, or the last thing you're supposed to do before you become
hobgoblin boot camp.
Before you become a low rank hobgoblin. We scrubbed out of it, and then we got press ganged onto a ship. And so we sort of had this structure of this militaristic upbringing but then we got, but also it's kind of evil, and then we got put on the pirate ship with all evil stuff. So what we ended up being is like a pirate ship, but once we found out about there's like the rules of piracy,
Right,
like
right.
laws of pirates.
Well, yeah, because
The
hobgoblins
pirate's
are
code.
lawful, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're lawful evil. And so once we found out about the pirate code, we were like, oh, this is great. We will follow the pirate code. We will be, we'll be pirates, but we'll follow the pirate code. And so like we, gave shares to all the people on our ship. And
Right.
we were like really, and what we didn't realize is the pirate code, there's always the 0th thing on the pirate code, which is, if you don't want to do this, don't bother because you're a pirate.
Yeah.
We never got that part. And so we were all like super, we were taking ships and like raiding other ships and messing with, raiding villages and stuff. But we were always like, making sure that our crew was really well cared for,
Right,
and everything.
well, like-
You were great bosses.
and our crew really liked us. Yeah, it
Yeah,
worked
well,
out
like
quite well.
pirate charters were actually quite progressive documents.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine like a hobgoblin pirate ship is probably run fairly tightly.
Yeah.
For a certain kind of pirate, that's probably actually quite comforting, right? You don't have to worry about people stealing your stuff on a hobgoblin pirate ship.
We had very stern words with some people who tried to steal stuff from each other, and then there was one time we raided a village that was like, it was like a slave trading outpost, and we were working with somebody who wanted to. We were kind of we didn't really care one way or another about the slave trading thing, but we were working with somebody who really didn't like it. So we were like, no problem. Let's raid this outpost. We'll knock out. We'll take out all the guys. And then there was and we did that. And then there was like a store there,
Right.
like a merchant. And so we were like, oh cool, maybe we can get some stuff. And we go to him and he's like, yeah, I don't know about selling the hobgoblins. And we're like, oh damn. Well, I guess we could try to convince him. And we talked about this for 15 minutes or so. And then we were like, wait a minute, we're pirates. We're pirates who just raided this town.
Yeah.
We're gonna take all your stuff.
Yeah, like, oh man, we just got turned away out of this shop. Well, that's a bummer.
It's like, hang on. We're pirates.
Maybe we can trade some of
Right,
our
we're
extremely heavy
pirates.
weapons.
Yeah.
I think you went in there and someone rolled a diplomacy and did abominably.
Yeah, we did very poorly. We were not very diplomatic in our piracy. So but we tried to. So we were so in that context we were even though we weren't really playing with alignment stuff in the same way, but we were technically we were doing lots of evil things, and we were accomplishing generally evil stuff.
Right.
My character had all sorts of weird. I ended up having to I sacrifice somebody and did a whole thing, and switched to a different evil god, and it was a whole thing. But we sort of had we worked together. I think we actually took it in turns to be like the captain.
Because that's what you do when you're training in your year of hell. Is everybody has a chance to be the officer in charge
Right,
of the
right,
other
right.
junior.
So to be captain and then eventually admiral once we got a couple ships.
Getting back to the question though, this is a big challenge for a DM, right? Giving evil characters a reason to collaborate, and not only a reason to collaborate, but a reason to behave in the order that you would expect a good campaign to operate in, right? Where you have maybe a patron, or maybe you go off and do quests, right? Well, why don't we just keep the stuff for ourselves? Yeah, we're evil. We should do that. And it's like, well, okay, right? And it reminds me of reading the design documents behind the Warhammer 40K Dark Eldar book, where the person writing the book was like, we've said that these are the most evil people in Warhammer 40K, and that's saying quite a lot. Why do they collaborate on anything at all, ever? Right? Why do they operate in these pirate bands? And they had to come up with the fact that fundamentally they're rational, and they recognize that they're safer together
Right.
than they are fighting one another.
But ultimately, what that comes down to is the players have to agree that they're going to do this. Because if you have a bunch of people who are all really, really good, you're going to have the same problem. It's like they're going to go into a dungeon crawl, and they're going to take everyone prisoner without killing anybody, and they're going to take all this stuff and then give it back. And then if this is D&D, they're going to have no equipment, and they're going to be working for like 2 silver a day because they're guards, and you're going to be faced with this group. Like, you have to have players willing to actually play the game.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Shadowrun problem, right? When your Street Sam takes the character creation takes 1 million nuyen in order to buy all their cybernetics. You know, you kind of have to ignore the fact that you started off with $1 million and you don't really need to be a Shadowrunner.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Well, my other favorite one that we did as the evil campaign is there was this, we came across this fountain that had some sort of water elemental thing in it. We didn't quite know what it was, but it was some sort of water elemental thing, and that was trapped in this plane. And it was like, I really hate being on this plane. And we had like killed a bunch of Cyclopses that were around it and stuff who were trying to, and saying, if you, I will give you a wish if you wish me, but you need to wish me back to my home plane.
Okay.
And we sort of talked about it. We were like, this water thing hasn't done anything to us. We have a lot of enemies already. So yeah, we'll do that. And they gave the wish, and we were like, yep, we wish you back to your home plane. And it was like, okay. And Dale was like, well, the book has this whole thing about how nobody is, how to fight this thing, because clearly the characters aren't going to keep up with the wish. They're going to break their promise. But we're like, it's like we're evil, but we're not dumb. We're practical. We're already like fighting like 3 different giant armadas that are trying to come and kill us. So we're like, yeah, we don't need another thing. Maybe he'll come and help us out some other time.
Yeah, it was some sort of water genie who promised to come back and can grant 1 wish a year. So you were each going to get 1 wish over the next several years, and that, you know, you guys won before that ever happened. But yeah, you made an ally.
But it's like, what do you think evil is, right, in your campaign? You're probably ostensibly trying to accomplish a goal, right? That goal is nefarious. But yeah, it's important that your players keep in mind that there's something bigger than kicking old ladies instead of helping them across the street, right? Like, that was my problem with KOTOR, right? And it's the Old Republic. One of the first decisions you're given is like, light side point or dark side point? Do you like help the old lady across the street, or do you like mug her? And it's like,
it's not usually that simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I really feel like a powerful Sith, right?
Well, whatever your campaign, your job when you're at the table is to make sure that everyone else at the table is having as much fun as possible. It doesn't matter if you're a player, it doesn't matter if you're the GM, your job is to make sure that everyone else is having as much fun as they can have. And it's not your job to make sure you're having fun. That's everyone else's job. And if everyone does that, it doesn't matter if you're all evil, it doesn't matter if you're all good, because you're all working to have a really good time.
Yep.
Sounds great.
That giveaway's over.
Yep. Once I stop.
Dying. I have a lozenge, would that help?
No.
Want me to spit in your mouth?